What's going on, guys? Coach Derek here, and today I'm going to teach you how to string a Stringking Mark 2F. Now, I did dye this head. If you guys want to see that process, you can go check out my channel at the Cougar with 2 R's. I'll link that below. But regardless, I'm going to teach you guys how to string my weapon of choice. So stay tuned. So we're going to be stringing this up with some Hero 3 semi-soft mesh from ECD, and I have Stringking strings, which I think are the best. They come with the aglets on the shoe or the sidewall and everything. I also have some extra sidewall that I got from the St. Anselm locker room, just to add some little spice. And then you're also going to need a lighter and scissors, of course. Okay, so let's get into the top string. All right, so the first thing I want to say is something that not a lot of people realize, but the mesh actually has 2 different sides to it. And one of those sides being a coarse side and like a smoother side. The coarse side of the mesh, this is 10 diamond mesh, by the way. The coarse side is the side you want sitting that's gonna hold on to the ball. If you use the smoother side of the mesh, the ball is going to slip around and you're not really going to have good control over where that ball is going or good feel. So before we even put the mesh in the stick, we got to separate it, break it up a little bit. I like to just do it like this with my hands. Some people really take this part like a little bit more seriously. As a face-off guy, our mesh is going to get mangled anyways, so I just try to spread it apart for what I got to do with it. All right, once you have that spread apart, you're gonna find the 9 diamond row, which will be this second row. So this is 10 diamond mesh, so this is gonna be the 10 diamond. Hold on. So this is gonna be the 10 diamond, and then this is gonna be this 9 diamond. And you're gonna wanna fold that over, all right? So then you have it folded, obviously, with the coarse side this way, and then smooth side facing the back. So with that fold is going to go on the back side of the head, just like so. All right, and right now I'm gonna start with I'm gonna do kind of a triangle top string, super simple triangle top string, but you can apply this to any stick for your top string. Top string is pretty important. I like triangle just because it'll help with face-offs, keep the longevity of it. But all right, first things first. So you're gonna go in through the sidewall. You're gonna go up through the mesh, and then you're gonna go back in through the sidewall on top of the mesh, and then back through the mesh, okay? And that's gonna create a nice loop. All right, so now you should have a loop on that side right there. Okay, so once you have your loop, so next you're gonna wanna go through the top, back through, underneath the mesh, and then around for an interlock. Okay, so this is gonna be an interlock, all right? It's gonna look a little weird just because I'm doing a single interlock and not a double, because we're doing a triangle top string. Okay, so you should have something like that. And then you're gonna repeat the interlock for each hole. Okay, so then I skip a hole, skip a mesh hole, and then I'm coming back like so. Okay, interlock, interlock, and then since I want it to match, I'm gonna go in through the mesh this time, then back out through the head, and it should be identical for each side. So now, what you're gonna get is something that looks like this. And see how the knots are like the same way? These two guys. So then go through the mesh again, skip a hole in the mesh, skip a hole in the head, go through the mesh, go back through the head towards yourself, and then pull it straight down. Ooh, got it. Boom. All right, and at this moment now, we're gonna do the same thing, loop and tie off through that last mesh hole. Sorry, it's hard to string and like show you guys. Go through the bottom, and then you're gonna pull that nice and tight. When you're foaming, it's hard to pull it nice and tight. Okay, and then when I tie off these knots, what I like to do is I like to make a loop, and then I go through the loop twice. And then I just pull through. So it's like a double knot. This one got a little fucked up, but that should be fun. Okay, so now this is what we have so far for the top sidewall. All right, the next thing I'm just gonna use a cross lace actually for the other part of it, just because it's easier to work with and adds a little bit more of that stability. You don't need to go around the mesh, so I'm just gonna make another double knot so the cross lace doesn't get pulled through, okay? And you're basically gonna be going over each of these holes, like you're gonna be going over them. So let me show you here. If I can get this through the friggin' thing. All right, so one thing that people don't really understand is that you should actually try to make the top string as tight as you can, because it's gonna be like the foundation and setting the tone for the sidewall and the rest of the head. So that triangle top string like really helps with that, essentially. All right, so now that the top string is done, we're gonna get into the sidewall, okay? Here's what it looks like, once again. All right, now with the sidewall, I'm using just this off-brand sidewall. I don't even know, I think it was ordered on like Gymalax or Lax Monkey. I just like the pattern, how it's black and white, something a little different than just a solid color. Now, if you're using Stringking with the aglets, it's gonna be a lot easier to string this pattern. If what I do is I burn the tips and then I pinch it so they're as small as can be. So make sure that you use the side that you're going through the head and through the mesh as the smaller side, and then knot it at the thicker side where you burn the end, okay? Just a little tip right there. So same thing, what we're gonna do is this is gonna be predominantly SIs, or I call them modified SIs, excuse me. This is gonna help keep the mesh to the outside of the head, as well as allow you to not get the ball stuck, because I see that as an issue. So what we're gonna do, underneath these two knots right here, we're gonna put another loop on the second sidewall hole and mesh hole, okay? So I'm gonna do that one at a time. We're gonna wanna loop these. Sorry, I'm standing up for the camera too. So yeah, you're gonna wanna go in through the mesh, up through this next mesh hole, and then back through the sidewall, and then up through the mesh hole again, and that's gonna create your first loop, okay? I'll do it to the other side as well. All right, next, another piece of advice, and you will find this during this tutorial, is you never want to skip a mesh hole, okay? You are gonna use every single mesh hole. Never skip a mesh hole. You can skip sidewall holes, just not mesh holes. So for this, we're gonna skip 2 sidewall holes, and then we're gonna go in through that third sidewall hole, up through the mesh, okay, right there. And this is gonna create a little loop right here. And with this loop right here, if you guys can see, we're gonna take our sidewall and go down through that loop, okay? Now this is gonna cause a knot. So this is a knot interlock, okay? I like to pull it nice and tight through the sidewall, hold it with my thumb, and then pull down, and we're gonna get that nice knot. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing, skip 2 more. On the 3rd one, now the 6th one technically, go up, and we're gonna do a knot again. So up, down through that loop, right here. Okay, so we go in through the sidewall, up through the mesh, and then back over and down through the loop. Okay, and that's gonna get us another knot. If you guys are finding this a little hard to follow, that's perfectly fine. My first time doing a stringing tutorial. Go to ECD, they have Greg has great tutorials, and he'll teach you like these knots that I'm telling you about. This is more so just for the pattern that I use. All right, now we're gonna get into the modified SIs. I use 5 of these, okay? Because I like to have a little bit more of a bag of a pocket with that channel aspect. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go down through the mesh, okay? Once you're down through the mesh, you're gonna skip a sidewall, 2 sidewall holes, and you're gonna go in. God, it's so hard to film this. You're gonna go in the sidewall, and then you're gonna go to the 1 hole above and go back out the sidewall. So it should be looking something like that. If you guys can see that. There, like that. And then you're gonna pull that all the way through. Okay, so now it looks like that. Sorry, it's not gonna focus. And then we're going back up through the mesh. And this is gonna create your first modified SI. I'll try to do a close-up on that in the editing software. Just repeat this step 5 more times with no skips in the sidewall. So we're going down through the mesh. Technically, you need a skip for this. So it's like, all right, here we go. I changed angles a little bit so you guys can see better of what I'm doing. So we're going down through the mesh, okay? Skipping 1 sidewall hole right here. Going in, out, and then back up through the mesh. Okay, and now we're gonna repeat that. We have 2, just gotta do it 3 more times. Sometimes I like to pull the mesh up to start to see the form of the pocket. And then, so that's where the pocket is gonna sit. And then what I do is I do skip 3, 1, 2, 3, put it through the 4th, next mesh hole up through, and then now we're going out through the loop instead of down through the loop for a regular interlock. And then we're gonna do that again, 1, 2, 3. Interlock. And then very next sidewall hole, we are going to tie off. All right, I'm gonna do the other sidewall hole, or the other side, and then we can take a look at the finished product. And that is how you string the Mark IIF. And that, my friends, is gonna do it for the video. I'm gonna take some slow B-roll, show you guys exactly the knots and how I use them. I tossed in some shooters and a cross lace just to change it up, do something different. But that's the final product. Like I said, I'm gonna do a close-up of the sidewall so you guys can see. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.